September is Cancer Awareness Month, and I always support this in many different ways. One of which is supporting the Light the Night Walk for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's a great charity, and I will match up to $500, 10% of all donations that are made. If you're looking for a free way to be able to support cancer awareness, use these colors for your shoelaces. It's an interesting way. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to point out that I've organized all my videos into playlists on my channel. So if you're looking for more videos around a specific topic, especially topics like this with general shoe knowledge, you can find all of the videos in one place so that you're able to easily access everything that's out there. Thanks so much. Hey, welcome, and this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. Today we're going to have a very brief discussion about rubber soles. On my channel, I get people who send me questions, both on Instagram as well as on YouTube. And one of the questions that's come up a couple times is asking me to do a video on rubber soles. There are a lot of people who feel like, based on where they live, the rubber sole is just a much more palatable, functional, practical choice for them. And I can't agree more. Sometimes it just makes sense. I live in Wisconsin, but I travel around the world for work, or at least I did pre-COVID. So I'm very often in different climates, right? Whether it's desert or whether it's tropical. And I bring different shoes for different occasions. Now, the formality of the soles is definitely an issue, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. But then I'll also talk about the practical nature of what some of the options are. Now, this is not by any means a comprehensive list, but I tried to nail down the majority of the rubber sole options that are on most of my shoes. And I will point out that one of them is by far and away the most common, which is the day-night or the nub, what I call a nub sole. And we'll talk through that. But there's a lot of options here. And I want to make sure that each is given their due. I'll talk a little bit about what I consider to be practical about the sole and what I consider to be optimal or suboptimal, depending on the circumstance. So, all right, let's start off. So, the first one we're going to start with is the most common, and that is the day-night sole. Now, what I like about the day-night sole is that the profile of the sole is very similar to that of leather. Okay, so when you're looking at the outside, you have a little bit of additional traction because you have the nubs that are sticking out, and those nubs can wear down, and that doesn't mean you need to replace the sole. The sole needs to be replaced the same as it does with leather soles when you start feeling soft spots. Okay, many people say that these last longer, although that hasn't been my experience. But I get really tremendous wear out of leather soles, so that could just be me. But this is available in a couple different options. There's a Vibram option, which just has a slightly different feel to it. And then there are different makers that make their own version of this sole. Okay, so example here is that same sole, and if you look at it side by side, you can see that it's the same sole. This is a Foster & Son, this is a Crockett & Jones. The Crockett & Jones, it's the same sole, but it says Crockett & Jones here. Now, I have TLBs that say TLBs, I have Carminas that say Carmina, etc., and so forth. So that is a very practical sole. It does provide a little bit of traction. The heels are kind of cool. They have like a little heel guard here that provides a little bit of extra wear if you tend to wear down your heels. So it's a good, solid option when you're looking for it. Now, from a formality standpoint, I view these the same as leather, but not everybody does. And so I think it depends a little bit on where you live and what type of career you have as to whether or not that formality will be upheld. And let me give you an example of difference. Okay? This is an example of a classic city sole. Now I have this on some churches. This is a TLB. Now this has a very, very narrow waist and a fiddleback on this sole, which is not that common. This is a TLB Artista line. And but it's very, very plain. Now it does have a very nice texture to it, which provides and affords pretty good traction. Pretty good traction in the snow. Well, let me rephrase that. Pretty good traction on ice and in the rain. Not necessarily in deep snow. Certainly not in slush or with freezing rain or stuff like that. Okay, but just on a plain ice, walking the dogs during the winter, I can get by with this and feel pretty good about it. So I do want to make that clear. There are a couple of options of the City Sole, and Crockett & Jones has one, pretty common one, that has these circular items on it, which provide different traction points. Now, the traction all goes the same way. It's not a hatched pattern, it's a striped pattern, and everything around it is totally smooth. Now, what that means to me is once you wear down those little nubs, then you don't have any traction left, whereas with this one, you have traction, excuse me, all around the shoe. Okay? So that's something to consider. Now, when you're in the winter and you need something that has good traction on snow, specifically deep snow, and I apologize that these are a little dirty, you have the Commando sole. And the Commando sole can come in a bunch of different formats. There's ones with lugs that go all the way to the edge. There's ones with lugs that are really thin. There are ones with lugs that are really thick. And you can see how it's really, really all the way to the edge and big on the heel, but then on the forepart of the shoe, it is a little bit different. So that is all aesthetically a choice. I think that from a snow traction, the deeper they are, the better. I have a pair of Ugg boots that are really deep, but they have a funky different pattern as well that can be there. Now, I have a pair of shoes that has this pattern on it, but it's on a sole saver. Now, sole savers are always another option when you talk about rubber soles, and there are really two types of sole savers that people think about, and so I'm going to talk about each of them. There's the sole saver that you just slap on the bottom of the shoe. Now, if you have a cobbler do it, you can do it where it's really, really pretty. They actually shave down the leather, and they make it so that it's completely flush with the bottom, and then you can even put a toe plate in it then. And it's something where once the rubber wears down, you just replace the rubber. And you've got all kinds of patterns. There's an explosion pattern right now that is new, which is very popular, and I like the look of it. And I say that it's new to me. It may not be new. Again, remember, not an expert. I'm just a shoe guy. Okay? But as you look at sole savers, they can have a lot of different feels. Now, I have one that is a sole saver that's applied by the factory. Okay, and this is a leather lately, and it's a double sole and then a sole saver, Commando sole saver on top of it, and they added an extra layer of the heel stack in order to make it so that the shoe is perfectly balanced. When you have a sole saver put on, the cobbler will make sure that the sole is balanced with the heel, and if that's why they shave it down so that it stays balanced. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, there are a number of half soles where it can be sewn on, where it's actually the sole saver is actually put on before the sole is stitched. Okay, you can get this with Allen Edmonds. It's called a V-tread sole. With Carmina, it's called a Tomir sole. A lot of different options to it. You can actually have a Tomir type sole that has the little nubs in it too. There are some, I think, Taft shoes. I bought a pair of Taft boots once that had the nubs through a leather sole. All kinds of different options out there in the market space. But the Commando on a sole saver is a little too big, so you got to make sure that the heel is adjusted for that as well. Otherwise, you could have premature or weird wear on the sole. And obviously the soles wear, then you have to have them replaced, and that creates maintenance, which of course means you're without your shoes for 3 weeks or 2 months or however long it takes the cobblers to do it. We have less and less cobblers, unfortunately, these days, which means that the wait in order to get work done can sometimes get to be a little long. So you need to plan ahead. Okay. Now, the other kind of rubber soles, I'm going to put a lot of different patterns into, but it's going to be what I call a molded sole. Okay? So this is an example of what I'm going to call a molded sole. Okay, so this is one piece of rubber, and this one piece of rubber has a pattern on the end of it. Now, I've had this where it's been a really good traction sole, like a Victory sole, and I don't have any right now, otherwise I would have shown it. But the Victory sole is really great because it has these deep V's in it and gives you nice traction, but has a lot of space in them in order for stuff to just fly out, so you don't get issues like I have here where I've got dirt stuck in it, right? This is a Paraboot, by the way, and Paraboot's really well known for their rubber soles. This is just a really molded sole, and I have to tell you, outside of my regular, like Allbirds, my sneakers, my wife considers these her favorite pairs of my shoes. Okay, now, whoa, pray tell, why is that? Well, we have hardwood floors, and this is quiet. When I'm working at home, which I do every day now, I walk back and forth from my office to the kitchen, which is on the opposite side of the house, and I'll walk across a hardwood floor all the way, that entire distance, back and forth, 20, 30, 40 times a day, because that's where my coffee pot is, right? And so we have a pretty open floor plan in our house, and so the staircases don't have a ceiling over it, right? It's all open, so you can hear everything on the second floor that you do on the ground floor. And for my wife, that is a challenge when I'm working from home and I'm wearing my work shoes, which I like to do, even though you can't see them on camera, because I'm a shoe guy. And this is a real challenge for her. So she loves these shoes because they're quiet. Okay? If you have a job where it's helpful to be quiet, you don't want people to hear you walking down the hall, this can be a good option. Okay? And you want to get something that has a soft sole. Okay, now what's great about Paraboot is it doesn't wear extremely fast, and it's also this quiet sole. So now you can get all kinds of shapes, all kinds of different molds that come into this, and again, all kinds of rubber. So you can get really, really hard rubber like you get here on the Ishton sole, which is the big commando lugs, and then you can also get the any kind of interesting patterns like this that are there as well. Now. This is good on snow, good on ice, good in wet, good on marble when wet. This, good on snow, good on ice. It's fine on sidewalks or just like dry and on wet, but it's not anything special. The City sole is good on marble when wet. The Day-Night sole is not necessarily good on marble or linoleum when wet. So a lot of the guys in the shoe groups who are doctors who are going up and down hospital floors all the time, the linoleum, the tile floors, or marble floors can be quite slick because they're mopped all the time. They prefer the City sole to the Day-Night. So, and don't get me wrong, there's several of them that swear by Day-Night as well, but it is a difference. Now, personally, once I've broken a pair of leather soles in, I don't have a problem with the slippage. I don't have a problem on ice. I don't have a problem on snow. I don't have a problem out there. Now, I don't like my soles to get completely soaked. So, like if it's raining really hard and I'm going to be walking through puddles all day, I don't like wearing leather-soled shoes unless they're butyl soles. Butyl soles repel water great. Okay. But I would then, opt for rubber. But if I'm going someplace and there's a 40% chance of snow or something like that, I don't really worry about it. So this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. That is my thoughts on rubber soles. What's your experience? What do you think? Am I completely off my rocker, or is there some truth to what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments. I'm anxious to hear from you, and I really appreciate you watching. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.